And we're back here on the Stogie Geek Show with a fabulous little segment that we've prepared for you today that I know Will and Mark are super excited about, as am I. And I'm just going to bring up my notes on it. This is somewhat based on some listener feedback that we got about, and it's feedback that, we've gotten over the, couple of years we've been doing the show. Our listeners, and I think that no matter what kind of cigars we review, right, we can review the less expensive bundle cigars readily available, all the way up to the truly rare cigars where you may, if you're lucky, get a chance to smoke one. Right, that's the kind of the spectrum. And the way that we position the show is that we're going to talk about the inexpensive bundle cigar all the way up to the once in a lifetime smoke and everything in between. And we try not to focus on either end of the spectrum, right? And land somewhere in between. But inevitably, we end up talking about rare and limited cigars.
Yep.
Tonight's a good example. We talked about that Liga Privada number 9 Pequeño, which is just something that
About as rare as it
will
gets,
happen
right?
to, will happen to get a few samples of, and we happen to have the opportunity to smoke. And I talked about a Diamond Crown Maximus Robusto, which you can pretty much get in any local B&M. Now I wouldn't say wherever you are in the country, but that's a readily available cigar, regular production, right?
And it has been for quite some time now.
And that's in the higher end of the price spectrum. And we've talked about lesser, Nica Rustica, $6.95 for. I mean, this is like a Toro. What size is the Nica Rustica? I would say it's a Toro. It's a pretty big cigar.
Yep, Toro.
Yeah, I mean, you get 2 hours smoking time. It's still doing fantastic for me for $6.95. I mean, that's a great value in a cigar, in my opinion. Probably one of the better value in terms of price versus smoking experience that I've had in some time. I'm really enjoying this one, actually. So I wanted to talk about, and our listeners have a very diverse profile too, which is why we talk about all these different cigars. They're going to factor in things such as price, availability, along with personal preference, all weighing in on what cigars you want to smoke. If it's a handmade cigar, we're going to talk about it. We've got lots of mini reviews out there. But I wanted to talk about how you can acquire some limited or rare cigars. And it's not, we smoke limited or rare cigars not because I think we're special, although I would say some of us, maybe all of us, are special in our own ways. But, there are a lot of those types of cigars that catch our attention that we have the opportunity to smoke, and we'd like to share that with you. So I thought it was relevant to share how you can get some of these cigars, because I don't think it's outside of the reach of a lot of us regular cigar smokers to get some kind of rare or limited cigars. Sometimes it's luck, and sometimes it's knowing where to look. So I wanted to talk a little bit about where to look for these cigars. And the first one I have on my list is to look online. And look, it's not 1999 anymore, right? People buy stuff on the internet. It's a way of life. People buy cigars on the internet too, and I don't think that's going to change. And sure, there may be tax implications and threatening of tax implications, but there are literally hundreds of choices out there for buying cigars online. And maybe a smaller subset that offer limited or rare cigars. So I've got 4 different places online, and you guys, Will and Mark Jr., feel free to add, and those in the chat, feel free to add places where you found limited or rare cigars.
Now, when you say buy online or look online, are you specifically talking about retailers?
Yeah, online retailers,
all right. Okay.
Yeah, I'll let you address forums as well. I didn't include that in my list, but I'll let you guys address that as well, because that's another place to get them that is online. AtlanticCigar.com. And none of these places that I'm going to mention by any means associated or affiliated with the show in any way, shape, form, or fashion. If you sign up for the VIP program at Atlantic Cigar, it's $80 per year. Not only do you get discounts, but you get now advanced notification of limited releases. I've noticed several emails lately that I've gotten from Atlantic as I bought a VIP membership. And a lot of that's because I buy cigars for the show. And I'm not saying that I recommend that everyone purchase some kind of subscription like that, where you're paying for a membership in order to get discounted prices and in advance notification of
It all
limited
depends.
releases.
If you buy a lot of smokes, then it'll work itself out.
I participate in and run a cigar podcast. Like that puts me in a unique profile where I can really justify that $80 a year. Had I not been doing that, that's a different, that's a totally different decision. But that $80 a year for me, for someone who runs a cigar podcast, who has to wants to smoke all this different stuff and is probably buying more cigars than the average person because I'm buying them for us to smoke and contests and things like that. This is a great value for me. But they do give you advanced notifications, and there's a few gems on there that come up every now and again. And a lot of times that's how I'm finding out some of these cigars when they're becoming available is the online retailers' mailing lists will mail you and say, hey, we got these new cigars in stock. And then I go to Will, and Will's most likely already smoked them by then. But so Atlantic is one of those places.
Yeah, and Atlantic is, with Cigar Coop, we try to put, if we see a retail exclusive coming, I try to give the readers a shot, but there's a lot of times readers will find them before I will too.
Yep.
But Atlantic Cigars got some good gems in there. They had that 15th anniversary line, which the Viaje, Oliva, EP Carrillo, and My Father did an exclusive, and I think all of them are available, but the Viaje still.
I think you're correct. I haven't looked recently, but yeah.
Yeah, so they, again, these are blends that are being done, and then they just got announced. They're getting the El Centurion in the Corona Gorda size, which is only going to 3 shops. So Atlantic Cigar is one of those online retailers. They're doing some things that are real nice. Just ping this. If you're not on the VIP list, ping this site, or just ping some sites like Cigar Coop. I'll even say Half Wheel. They're very good at keeping on top of that as well.
Yep.
You'll keep noted, and you can find out. And often you can get these. They're not as hard as you think.
Smoke Inn's another one. They've got their own limited releases. In fact, the Tatuaje Anarchy line comes from Smoke Inn.
They have that micro blend.
Yep, and as well as the Padron. The first Padron 6x60 actually came from Smoke Inn as well.
Yep.
And it's funny, Stogie Santa, it came in the shop one day and he was like, I had the 6x60. He's like, we got to try it. I'm like, well, order a 5-pack and we'll split it. You know what I mean? Because they're expensive. And if you can find someone to split it with, even better, right? On something you're going to kind of take a gamble on. As much as a gamble as a Padron is, right? Like how much of a gamble is a Padron really? And their original 6x60 was awesome. And Smoke Inn also carries a lot of the Davidoff limited releases too, and that's also where I got that La Aurora Corojo special cigar that we smoked on the show.
Yeah, that thing was awesome.
That thing was awesome, and they're readily available on there. They're pricey, but you can buy them on there. And it was a great shopping experience at Smoke Inn. And I know the owners of Smoke Inn, Will, as well personally, and they're great folks. They do their own podcast as well, radio show.
Yep. And I'll say this, and absolutely get on their mailing list as well, because you'll get notified.
Yep. If
you go to their flagship store in Boynton Beach, and I'll be going down there in February, they have their vintage room, and when they have gems in there, and they limit you what you can buy, so they don't want someone just coming in and hoarding them. But there's stuff you'll find in there that you haven't, and they pick stuff up from other retailers too.
Interesting.
So for example, they had in there the Padron rounded cigars that were originally done for Curtis Draper, and they managed to snag a couple of boxes and put it in their vintage room. That vintage room is worth the trip. If you're in the Palm Beach area, go to Boynton Beach again. They're not affiliated with the show, but there's some gems in there.
Nice.
They don't put those online either.
TopQualityCigars.com has a great selection of limited edition cigars. They carry a lot of limiteds on that website as well.
Can I add on to that one?
Sure, go right ahead.
Casa de Monte Cristo, that's their online arm. So they're another store that has they have the same concept there. They also have a lot of blends that they've just acquired from the factories, such as My Father and EP Carrillo, that have never been released.
Nice.
Sometimes you'll see those on Top Quality Cigars. That if you're into the rare and hard to find stuff, again, that's another site to kind of check out. And if you're in Chicago, go to Casa de Monte Cristo.
Also, FamousSmoke.com is one of the larger online retailers, one of the largest, I think. I found some gems on their site too, with the help of my friends. Shouts to ATL. You can find a lot of great coupons. Again, ATL pointed me to some deals on their site, so thank you for that. But you can find some limited stuff, some stuff you normally wouldn't come across on their site as well. So don't be afraid to shop around at some of the. We mentioned Cigars International too. Had that vintage line from EP Carrillo. That's
Yep.
another great one you're not going to see in a retail store. So,
What's happening, Paul, is the online retailers have taken their share of hits from the brick and mortars. But what I'm seeing happen is now the manufacturers are kind of trying to take care of the online stores, so they're getting some exclusives, and these are not junk blends. They're good blends. Alec Bradley for Cigar International did a Brazilian Max, which was, I think, the best Max of any of the Maxes they've done. So these places have some quality cigars at good prices that you're not going to find anywhere else. And I think that's a good way to support the online retailer and still maintain your loyalty to the brick and mortar.
any other online sites, retail sites?
Not
I would
that I
also
go to
look.
frequently.
I would also look at Dan Welsh's site.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yep.
Um,
Why am I drawing a blank on the name?
New Havana
New
Cigars.
Havana Cigars. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes,
I would absolutely.
they've got some retail exclusives for them as well, and that's a great
Yeah.
site to order cigars from as well. They take some care in packaging the cigars when they ship them to you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Federal Cigar out of New Hampshire.
Federal.
They also get a
yes.
ton of a ton.
And they've got
of
some
store
new ones
exclusives.
recently, Will. Did you put those on your website?
Yeah. In fact, they were one of the 3 stores to get the El Centurion, the new El Centurion.
Yes.
Which and they do a lot. They have a lot of my father exclusives in their store. They have a Le Bijou with an Ecuadorian Connecticut wrapper, which is just absolutely
It's fantastic.
Smoked up
Oh,
40, yeah.
yeah. They have that EP Carrillo, that special version of the Short Run 2012, which was one of my top cigars I've smoked this year.
Nice. The other place is online auctions. I haven't bought cigars on auction in a little while, actually.
It's been some time for me as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why that is. Maybe that speaks to the availability of cigars in general recently. But cigarauctioneer.com is one that I use, and we did a whole segment on how to buy cigars on auction and all our tips and tricks, and you can find that in the Stogie Geeks archives. I got some really nice limited limited opus on 2 separate occasions on cigarauctioneer.com. Maybe even more than twice. Also cigarbid.com, which is Cigar International's online auction site. Keep a close eye on those. Some awesome stuff comes up cheap. And I know Mark Jr. is a big fan of the Cigar Bid. You've gotten some good stuff from
I have, especially in that free fall section of
Free
theirs.
fall, that's what I wanted to mention that. I'm glad you said that.
It's good.
Yeah. Just Adam L. made a good comment of another site, the smallbatchcigars.com. Check that one. I forgot about that one.
I hadn't been there.
Yeah, they have. I'm looking at them right now. They have factory press 2s on there. So, I mean, those are not easy to find.
Nice. Thanks, Adam. Will, do you buy cigars on auction?
No, I don't, because I'll be in the doghouse with all the cigars I buy. That would just be a temptation I'm not going to touch. But it is a very, I mean, I know a lot of guys who do buy them, and you can get some good values even on some cigars, core line stuff as well.
Yep, I agree. Your local shop. Now, your local shop is not going to carry every limited edition cigar on the planet. However, it never hurts. Here's kind of my strategy, right? It never hurts to ask what they have in stock or what they've ordered, right? You said before the smoke-in aging room. So one way to find limited is to ask your local shop maybe what they have in stock. Go online, read the different blogs about cigars you want to smoke that have gotten high ratings that are limited. Go to your local shop and ask them. That's how I actually formulated a relationship with Stogie Santa and Paul Joyles. I went in there and I said, I got this list of cigars that I'm looking for. And they're like, wow, you really spent a lot of time and did your research. They're like, let me go in the back and see what we have. And I got a lot of rare and limited cigars that way. And I think with that, you have to do your homework. I think that you'll have a different experience. If you go into a local shop and you say, hey, I want to know what you got, like rare and limited cigars. And they might be like, they might have half a box of something in the back, and they're like, you haven't kind of done your due diligence. And I hate to say that it's a kind of like a test like that, but in a way that it is. If you go do your research and you come in with specific things and show that you've done your homework, and you kind of show them that you're really interested in a true aficionado, they might be more apt to help you.
A good tobacconist absolutely will give you that. They'll work with you. The other thing is events, and you talked to Mark Jr. just talked about the Herrera S3 Corona. You go to a cigar that does good events.
Yep.
They'll bring something different. They'll bring something, maybe it's event only or something special or something they're looking to for the future with. So if you find good events, and we need to talk about events one time on the show, I think, but a good event, that's what I find makes a really good event. When you can get something like that, and especially if you start building a relationship with a brick and mortar that does a lot of good events, you'll be surprised what you can come out with. Whether sometimes they'll throw them to you, and sometimes they'll be available for purchase. So
the other thing too that I recommend for the local shop is don't be afraid to plant a bug in their ear, right? If you know that there's a limited coming out soon, or a cigar manufacturer is going to come out with a cigar, put the bug in their ear and say, hey, I really want XYZ limited cigar from ABC Company. You never know. The next day or the next week or whatever, that your retailer may get a call from ABC Company that says, hey, we got this limited cigar, XYZ cigar. Are you guys interested in this? If the local shop has never heard any of its customers speak of this cigar, they're likely going to pass on it. But if you can rally the troops within your local cigar shop and say, hey, guys, have you heard about this new limited cigar coming out from ABC manufacturer? Maybe there's a few fans of ABC manufacturer that say, hey, I'd really like to try that too. Have them all put the bug in the retailer's ear that say, we really want XYZ cigar. Then when your local retailer gets that call from ABC Company and they say, hey, we got XYZ cigar, the retailer's going to go, I heard a couple of guys talking about this cigar. I think I'm going to buy a couple of boxes because I know there's already some interest. And likely, if there's interest from a small percentage of the customers of my shop, I'll probably be able to move the whole lot of it. So I think that's really important to kind of build that relationship with your brick and mortar stores and encourage them to get limited cigars that you're interested in. Would you agree? Well, that's been my strategy anyway.
yeah, and like I said, the good ones will work with you on that. And that's where I start to differentiate one brick and mortar from another. And there's a shop I found out in North Carolina right now that's just they're a small shop, but they're the type of shop that wants to know that type of stuff, and they love when customers come to them, and they've been great about placing orders. And sometimes the brick and mortar can't get it,
Yeah.
all right, because of their buying power.
Right.
So you can't hold that against them either, especially if they're a small one. But a lot of times they can, and it's just a matter of creating awareness, and good ones will collaborate with their customers on that.
Yeah, and if you're a good customer and a regular cigar smoker and you built a good relationship, that local B&M will sometimes use other means necessary to get you the cigars they want.
Yep.
Maybe they got a good relationship with the local representative, or they know of another shop that might have them that they're not moving. I've had local shops like get me cigars that I asked for. They're not buying them for general consumption, but they're like, hey, if you want this cigar, I'll go get you a 5-pack from somewhere. I'll get a box, and I'll bring it in, even though it's not something I regularly bring in. I'll tell them sometimes, look, I'm not going to buy a whole box. I want to try 5 of these. And they're like, you know what? We're going to bring in a whole box, and we're going to get you 5, and then whoever else wants them, or we're going to get you these cigars that you want, even though it's not something they're regularly able to get. And I building a relationship, as you said, Will, with your local brick and mortar is the key, I think, to getting some of the cigars that you want that might be rare or limited or hard to find.
I agree.
Also, brick and mortars across the country. Anytime I travel, never be afraid to go into that local brick and mortar or call a brick and mortar on the phone either. I mean, that's a totally different strategy. But when you're traveling, or a friend that's traveling to a different area, Mark Jr. went to Amarillo, Texas a couple times. I think each time you went there, you went to a local brick and mortar, and you called me, and you're like, they have this, this, and this, and we bought a whole bunch of cigars from them. You bought some, I bought some.
Short
we
story
split some.
Maduros, boxes
Yeah.
of short story
Boxes
Maduros.
of short story Maduros that we couldn't get before. We bought because Mark Jr. was doing the traveling. So if you yourself or your friends are traveling, ask them, hey, check out the local cigar shop there and see what they have.
We did it with whiskey too when I went out to Montana. You remember? I walked into the whiskey.
Yeah.
I was like, Paul, we need to buy this place out. Too.
Yeah. And now with between myself, Mark Jr. and Stogie Santa, pretty much. We don't even have to ask now.
No, it's an assumption at this point. If I get this, I know I can get, you know.
If I buy a box of these, I know I'm going to get back
half of my money.
We're just buying them and knowing that each other will buy 5, 10, or split or whatever the deal is, because it's something you can't get around here. And when you travel to a different place, they may have them.
Speaking of which, I'm not going to tell you where I found this, but I did just find a box of Cien Años Maduros.
Did you really?
I did.
Did you buy it?
I have not bought it yet.
What?
What are you waiting for?
I'm staring at it right now.
Just buy it. Just, do you want cash? I have some cash in my pocket.
Put it on Stogie Santa's American Express card.
Do you want my American Express card? You want my wallet? Oh, all right.
Uh-oh. It's going to be a heavy one. All right. Okay.
Anyway,
let's move
now
on.
we're all distracted. Speaking of Cien Años, the original Cien Años Bellicosos, I found in a brick and mortar in Maryland.
Nice.
And I bought what was left in the box, and they were, I don't know, they were $12 a piece, and they're like, oh, they're on sale for $10 a piece because we can't sell them. I'm like, beautiful. I'll take whatever you have left. I'm like, can I buy whatever's left? They're like, hell yeah, we can't sell these things. And that's the thing. Different markets will sell different kinds of cigars.
It happened to me when I went into Philadelphia one time. It was
some
early
local shops.
2012. I went in.
Yeah.
Was it 2012? Yeah, it must have been early 2012. I walk in, and the guy had a box of the Singular, the first ones, the Phantoms.
Yeah.
Come on.
And he's like, I can't sell. And you're like doing him a favor, right? He's like, I can't sell these to my local market, but.
All right. Well, just pack
bag
it up.
them for me.
Pack it up.
Yeah,
Let's go.
Here's my credit card.
Yeah, let's go.
Well, that's what happened to me in Chattanooga, and I was talking in the chat room. They had Cien Años Maduros sitting on the shelf in there this August, and they don't anymore. Let's put it like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it gets to the point when you get this list of, like, what do I want to fill up space in my humidor? And I truly believe that there's going to be a rating that kind of evolves for, I will make space for this cigar in my humidor, like whatever the cost is. If I have to move out some other cigars.
If I have to sell stuff,
if I have to
get stuff in it.
If I have to make an adjustment, I will, to get these cigars in my humidor. And that's really what it's coming down to. Because I'm at the point where I am not going to get more humidor space. And Mark Jr., I've got 2 gigantic cabinets. I'm not going to
massive.
I'm not going to dedicate any more real estate to more humidor space.
I don't believe that.
The thing.
I don't believe that. I'm calling your bluff. I don't believe that.
Yeah. We talk about our Oasis rating, and one thing I loved about that system is if something's Oasis rated in my book, there's not a question.
No, there's no question. You buy it. You make space in your humidor.
It's going. I mean, that's just my view of the world.
Yep.
That's what an Oasis cigar is all about. I'm not going to blink on that.
So, guys, other ways to get rare limited cigars. We didn't talk about forums.
No, I'm gonna touch on that.
Okay.
If you're a member of a forum, typically they won't let you buy until you've established some sort of reputation there, for good reason. They don't want some idiot coming in there and trying to sell stuff that's not what it is, or buy stuff and not pay, and all that kind of crap. But if you find a forum you like, post and get involved in that thing. And I'll tell you what, I found some of my best purchases I've ever bought have been from other members of cigar forums. In fact, I just bought a box of 2009 Work of Art Maduros. Where else are you going to find a 4-year-old box of Work of Art Maduros? You're probably not going to find that at a brick and mortar. You're not going to find that online. You're only going to find something like that from a guy on the forum that wants,
It's for the Cien Años Maduros. I'll leave that with you.
$3.90.
$3.90?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's expensive.
Steep.
That's steep.
That's why I was saying.
That's more than.
I'll leave that here for now.
We'll talk about that after the show.
Yeah.
It's Oasis rated.
$3.90 though.
Yeah, but that's a good point though. Price gouging is not.
That's not
cool.
awesome.
That's not cool. That's not cool.
I've seen some guys, and it's terrible what I've seen. Especially, I saw it this year with the dress boxes at a Tatuaje, and I know it's something that Pete Johnson doesn't like, and it, that's just wrong, and I'll pass on it in that case.
It's bullshit, really, to be honest with you, because
it is. It is.
Just to be blunt and a little crude, there, it's bullshit because. At the end of the day, I haven't met a lot of people that are out there that are just, let's face it, most of the people that are like-minded with us with the cigars, it's not about making money. No. It's about trying something cool, maybe hooking up your buddy, something like that. When you're just gouging stuff like that, you're just a jerk. Really.
It reminds me of what happens if you enjoy shooting as a hobby and all the price gouging that's happened with ammunition because there's a scarcity on ammunition. Still, and the prices are just off the charts, and there's a lot of people doing the price gouging thing, and it comes down to almost not being worth it,
But I don't want to give the forums a bad name because I think most of the guys on the forums are really generous. I've done a few of these Secret Santa things on the forums, and wow, people just around Christmas time they're generous, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Exchanging and then doing the same thing back in return. So
from what I've seen on the forums, there's no price gouge or not a lot of price gouging from what I've seen.
There is some.
There's some,
but they get called out.
Yeah.
Typically, if it's a good forum, they self-moderate, and those guys get called out, and they get weeded out, and they're not welcome back, and things like that. So you do have to be a little aware and not get sucked in when those things first go up, but. Like I said, they self-moderate, so it's kind of one of those things that fixes itself. But, it is what it is. Unfortunately, you kind of do have to pay attention and protect yourself a little bit.
Speaking of Oasis levels, did you have any more on this topic? I wanted to kind of segue into our contest that we have ongoing. Speaking of Oasis level cigars, I am offering 3 Oasis level cigars in exchange for a contest. And the contest is you have to submit a cigar review. It can be whatever cigar you want. Doesn't matter. You choose the cigar you want to review. You send us a cigar review that's under 5 minutes. It can be in audio or video format. Send it to the show at stogiegeeks.com. Talk about the cigar, where it comes from, the blend. Talk about what you thought the flavor profile was, and give it a Stogie Geek cigar rating.
Very important.
Stogie Geek cigar rating. Send that to us. We will pick a winner at random, and we will feature your audio and or video on the show. And we will send you an epic. The winner will win an epic 3-pack of an Oasis level cigar, which will include a Padron Pyramid Maduro that has got at least 2 years of age on it.
Pretty fantastic.
Tatuaje Corona Gorda jar release from 2013. And a Paul Gamarian Reserva Exclusiva Gran Corona.
Oof.
Which also has a significant amount of age. These all actually are coming from my personal collection. I will send you 3 Oasis level cigars that I just described in exchange for the winner of our cigar review contest. And we released that on the last show. Want to reiterate it and send out again. I know some people are working on it as well. I will extend it basically until I get 3 to 5 different reviews. I know there's at least one person working on it, very close to sending us a review. But I do encourage you to send a review. Please do that under 5 minutes. Relatively short amount of time. If you need
it doesn't have to be elegant. It doesn't have to be elegant.
No, absolutely not. All it has to do is include those components. Tell us a little bit about the cigar, what you thought of the flavors, and give it a rating and send it to us. And that's your submission. and you got a really good chance of winning an epic 3-pack of Oasis level cigars. Speaking of rare and limited cigars, we'll send them to you. So go ahead and do that, and we're happy to announce the winner on an upcoming show. Now, a little secret is if I get 3 to 5 of them, I will probably release them all on the show. I will probably air them all on the show. So if you do one, you will most likely get, I mean, unless I get like 12 of them, which I don't think we're going to get that high of volume, but I will do my best to air all of them on the show. So it may take some time, but the winner will be the first one to be aired on the show. So get busy, folks. Send us your cigar reviews. The show at StogyGeeks.com. Don't forget to join the CRA. We talked about that. We actually don't talk a lot about the political side of things a lot here on the show with our guests, but I thought we had an interesting opportunity with Aging Room as they, Oliveros, they made some flavored cigars, and that's a kind of a hot topic in terms of regulations. So I'm glad we were able to discuss that with Hank. So
Yeah, and just for the folks on Cigar Federation, our sister show Half-Ashed does a really good job with some of the legislative. Every week they bring that stuff to the table. So they're one of our sister podcasts, and I encourage you to check out Kip and Craig. They do a great job with that.
As well as Cigar Chat.
Yep.
With Logan and Rob, right?
Yep, they were just on before us. And if you didn't see that Ernesto Padilla interview, that's a good one, guys.
Nice.
Make sure you check that out. He was pretty blunt.
Nice. Excellent. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and we'll see everyone on the next edition of the Stogie Geek Show. Thanks, everyone.